Denise? I have
9 o'clock, yes, and I have no public comments, so you may begin.
Okay, good morning, and welcome to the Tuesday, March 16th, 2021 Todd County Commissioner Board meeting. The time is 9 o'clock. Due to COVID restriction, the public is not allowed to attend in person. The board meeting can be viewed at the link provided by the board meeting website. Attending remotely is the media, Chris Pelzer, coordinator. Attending in person, Steve Ock, sheriff, Lauren Feldbaum, public works, Adam Osefeld, planning and zoning, soil and water, Chris McCon, solid waste, Jackie Ock and Amy Zimmerman, health and human services, Sarah Ogren, human resources, Denise Gaida, auditor treasurer, and Jolene Zabuski, chief deputy auditor treasurer. All commissioners are present, and we will stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Then I will ask for a motion for the amendment to the agenda.
I have no amendments.
There's no amendments to the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Knizel. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Madam Chair, and I do have one addition I'd like to add. I got some questions on why we are accepting resignations that happened back in January. And then we had a resignation of an office manager out at Solid Waste. That was effective 3/11/21. I was just curious on why that wasn't on the agenda today. So I would like to add it on if I could, ma'am.
Gary, you made the motion. Would you accept that to be amendment to the agenda?
That's fine, I don't know about it, but yeah.
Okay. And your second stands, Randy?
Pardon me?
And you second
Yes.
the amended agenda?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Madam Chair, could,
Yeah.
Chris, you know the reasons why?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Newman, the reasons why, again, going back to having this conversation previously, is sometimes the department heads are so focused on getting that position filled that it is sometimes an oversight on getting those resignations submitted to the board in a timely fashion. I mean, even though these are put on the consent agenda, once that person submits their resignation, essentially the board is not going to deny a request for resignation. So the focus is really put on the hire versus the resignation, and I will make sure department heads are reminded to get these submitted in a more timely fashion.
But, Madam Chair, but doesn't that pertain to, it has to go through HR if you're going to resign because you have to be taken off the payroll, correct?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Newman, the process today is that the department heads who have the person resigning are responsible to submit that resignation to the board.
Whatever.
Okay. Any more questions or comments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. So do you want to add that to?
4.10, I'm adding transfer
You.
station office manager resignation.
Okay, thank you.
Potential consent items
Yes.
then today are meeting minute approval, March 2nd, 2021. Clarissa Ballroom, 1-year setup license. Clarissa Ballroom, 1-year 3.2 malt liquor license. Clarissa Ballroom, 1-year wine license. Clarissa Ballroom, 1-year dance license.
Madam Chair, I thought we had a motion to approve these already.
Oh.
No,
No.
amend
the
the
agenda.
agenda.
Oh, I'm in the agenda. Okay, sorry, thank you. I was confused there.
Oh.
Okay,
Okay, The Rock Tavern LLC, 1-year liquor license. Retirement Kimberly Willett, 3/12/21. Resignation registered nurse, 1/19/2021. Resignation nursing supervisor, 3/26/2021. And office manager resignation at the transfer station, And I don't have that date. What did you have, Randy?
Mm-hmm.
What was the date?
Someone said
3/11/21
Thank you.
was their exit interview.
That's what I have for potential consent items.
Okay. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
There's a motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Kenizel. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and it carries. Okay, Denise?
My first item today is to approve the commissioner warrants. Background was sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the commissioner warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $127,792.55.
Okay, is there a motion for the commissioner warrants?
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Kenizel. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll go roll call.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenizel?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Next item I have then is the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Again, background was sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $107,972.47.
I'll ask for a motion for approval.
Yep, so moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll do roll call.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenizel?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Our next item is the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. Background was sent for review. Recommendation to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a regular manual payment totaling in the amount of $61,630.62.
I'll ask for a motion of approval for the Human Services SSIS warrants.
So moved.
Motion by Erickson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Kenizel. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Erickson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenizel?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Kircher?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Next item I have is the Benson Air aerial spraying request. The Todd County has received a request from Benson Air Ag Incorporated for permission to perform aerial spraying of tent worms. At this time, the county does not have any legal grounds to withhold granting permission for 2021. See the attached letter and exception from FAA regulations. Recommendation is to grant permission to Benson Air Ag Incorporated of Benson, Minnesota for spraying of tent worms in Todd County in the calendar year 2021 with the public notification made within 48 hours prior to spraying event.
Is there a motion for the Benson Air Ag aerial spray request?
Move for discussion.
Commissioner?
Yes.
Yes.
Has to be a second before I can discuss.
Is there a second?
Second.
Was it Erickson?
Yep.
Okay.
Just a point of clarification, is it that we give permission or is that we acknowledge that they are?
Well, in the past, we had been just acknowledging it, but it was brought to our attention. If we go down to their letter, they actually state in there that the FFA is asking for permission. And so then with further investigation, we pulled up the FAA regulations, and it does constitute in here that public officials governing, and that lists the entities, county commissioners, that we are to give them permission to do this. I know it's your recommendation that we only just acknowledge it, but we are bound by state statute that we have to
I
give
get calls
permission.
on this one, so.
I know. So if you want to abstain when we vote, that's fine. We had
I
to follow
moved,
it.
I already moved, so
Oh.
I can't abstain.
Okay.
So, I'm okay, I'm just wondering if that was right according to the statute. I wanted to make sure we aren't
Yep, we
stepping
did.
out of our bounds here.
Yep, no, we did investigate it because their letter this year specifically was indicating
Yeah,
that
they
we have to.
changed their letter then, huh? Okay.
I would guess that, right to deny would be from like past practice or problems or stuff like that would develop, then it would justify some kind of.
Yeah, we have people down there that don't care for the chemical spraying around the lake, you know, so
Right.
it's kind of one of those things. But I think I know they're using chemicals that are safe, but
Right.
it's just one of those things. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries.
Thank you. The last item I have then is the transfer of funds, the county relief grant program. The background, Todd County received $486,777 on January 6th of 2021 via the State of Minnesota County Relief Grant Program and have used or expended the program funds within the allotted time frame indicated in the state terms. As part of the CRG program, a portion of the CRG program funds may be utilized for allowable administrative expenses. In order to comply with audit standards, it is recommended to transfer the funds from Fund 19 CRG Program Fund to the General Fund 01 to realign the administrative expensive allotment documentation into county funds. Recommendation is to approve the attached resolution to transfer funds county relief program. So we'd be transferring the $4,816.72 from the CARES Act into general fund.
Very good. Okay, is there a motion for transfer of funds for the grant program?
Yeah, discussion before we do that, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Chris, is this the money that we were talking about yesterday that maybe we would move into the Economic Development Corporation?
Yes, these are exactly those funds, and Jolene and Denise have some additional information on how that transfer could potentially take place. So I would lean on Denise and Jolene to explain that process if they would.
Sure. The funds have to, by audit standards, go from the CARES Act into the general fund. At that point in time, the county board can allocate that money wherever they see fit. Right now, the Todd County Development is a agency fund, and they have an allocation that they receive to us. So you could, after we do this transaction, you could follow up with a board action on a certain dollar amount to allocate back to. But it's a paper trail, you know, it's an auditing trail that will show that you guys then did a board action to move that fund into Rick Uteg's, because it's an agency fund.
Denise, should that take place today, or should that take place at the next meeting then?
Take place at the next meeting.
At the next
Yep.
meeting? Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kneisel, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Erickson. Discussion.
Yes, Madam Chair, then I would ask that the Auditor Treasurer bring a board action to move that to the Economic Development Corporation for investment into businesses. Next meeting.
We can do that.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
we
you.
will
Does
draft
that have to be part of the motion, or can it be
No, I
laid
just
as
asked- I
discussion?
just asked for
Just
that.
as discussion. Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
And carries. Okay, the next we would be the ditch inspector. Nancy, do you happen to be on?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Nancy. Why don't you go
Okay,
ahead and
all right.
explain this?
Okay, sorry, I'm proctoring chemical applicator tests today, so I couldn't be down there. So this is just knowledge receipt of outlet petitions from the Chaminade Lake Improvement District to County Ditch 41. And I included all of the attachments that were sent with the petition. And your options are to acknowledge receipt or do not acknowledge receipt. Recommendation, the Todd County Board of Commissioners approves the following by motion. Acting as Todd County Ditch Authority acknowledges receipt of an outlet petition from the Chaminade Lake Improvement District to use County Ditch 41 as an outlet for their high water outlet project. Ditch Attorney Kurt Dieter has reviewed the petition and said it is a valid petition.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. And Nancy, do you want to explain the acknowledgement, what that means? It means, that we're not, go ahead.
This just basically means you're acknowledging receipt of the petition, which then gives permission to me to then start spending money on the project, and well, actually not for me, because it's all going to be billed to the petitioner, but to then go forward with the project.
Okay.
So this is just acknowledging receipt, and then there will be future meetings and stuff that can be set up after you acknowledge it.
And Nancy, any expense occurred to this will be charged back to the petitioner, correct?
Yep, all expenses on this petition, including my time, including meeting fees, attorney fees, any fees that are associated with it, will be charged back to the lid, the Lake Chaminade lid.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Nancy, Commissioner Kircher, what if we deny this?
I don't know that I would have to ask Kurt Dieter that. I don't know if you can deny acknowledging receipt.
Well, you
I've never
have
had that happen before, so I'm not
have
sure.
that on options on the board action.
Yeah, I would have to talk to Kurt about that, and he's on vacation right now, so I would have to see if I could get a hold of him.
I would move the table then, Madam Chair.
Okay. We had a move to table, so it will be tabled until we can have conversation with Kurt, our ditch authority. And Nancy, when do you think that would be?
As soon as I hang up here, I'll try getting a hold of him.
Okay, but you said he's on vacation till April?
Yeah, yep, he's on vacation in Florida till April 1st, but he is to email, so I'll
Okay,
try emailing him.
so it will be brought back to board the first meeting of April for discussion,
Sure.
okay? Okay, then that is tabled and we will go forward.
Okay.
Thank you, Nancy.
Yep, you're welcome.
Good morning, Lauren.
Good morning, everyone. Our one item on the agenda this morning today is a recommendation for award of a construction contract for our 2021 bridge construction project. This is the bridge on County Road 11, just north of Highway 71 in the city of Clarissa. Our bid opening was a little bit ago, and I did attach the abstract of bids. In my tenure with the county, we've never had this many bidders. So with that, I believe we received very, very, very excellent bid results. The low bid at this time was Marvin Treader Incorporated at $446,000 and change, and our estimate was $488,000. So with that, our two recommendations at this time, or two options this time, to approve the attached resolution or do not approve the attached resolution, and a recommendation to approve the attached resolution awarding the contract to Marvin Treader Incorporated for this project.
Okay, I will ask for a motion for the approval of the 2021 bridge contract.
So,
Motion by Kneisel, is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Okay, second by
Are you
Erickson.
familiar with them, Lauren, or?
Yeah, they've done work. I think over the years we've awarded at least 2 contracts. They've been a sub on many, many other contracts, but a very reputable company that this is kind of this is in their wheelhouse. This is what they do. So.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and carries. Thank
All
you,
right,
Lauren.
thank you.
Good morning, Adam.
Good morning. Okay. First item this morning is the Daniel Lampright request for CUP. A request for a conditional use permit to operate a wholesale greenhouse with some retail sales was submitted by Daniel Lampright on January 20th. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the March 4th meeting. The final recommendation of the Planning Commission was to grant the conditional use permit with the following conditions. 1, that all heavy vehicle traffic for transportation of wholesale plants must access the greenhouse site from the west via County Road 1. 2, the greenhouse operator must provide adequate off-street parking for all greenhouse traffic. No parking will be allowed within the road right-of-way. 3, no loading or unloading of materials will be allowed within the road right-of-way. 4, the business is restricted to construction of a single greenhouse. Construction of additional greenhouses will require review by the Planning Commission. 5, if the applicant wishes to conduct primarily retail sales, review of the planning commission shall be required. And 6, the site shall be reviewed by the planning commission for compliance after 2 growing seasons. The options would be to a motion to grant the CUP with those proposed conditions, deny it, or remand it back to the planning commission for further consideration. And the recommendation at this time is a motion to grant the conditional use permit with those proposed conditions.
Okay, is there a motion for approval for the Daniel Lambright CUP?
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Motion by Kneisel, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Erickson. Discussion.
Yes, Madam Chair. Adam, I think I know what it means, but can you tell me what number 5 really means?
Well, he's really just wanting to just sell whatever leftover plants he has at retail. So it might be that the wholesaler comes and takes everything and he has no retail on that growing season. So his primary business is wholesale. But if he wishes to eliminate the wholesale and just go to primarily retail sales, we wanted to review that because it changes the operation a little bit. He's got a really large parking area. A lot of the pieces of the puzzle are there, but we want to have the opportunity to review that to make sure, because it's going to increase traffic down the road and all those sort of things. So if he changes his operation to primarily retail, we wanted the opportunity to review that for additional conditions.
Because on the top, it says operate a wholesale greenhouse with some retail sales. And then you got number 5, which kind of,
Yep, it's because the retail will kind of be secondary to the wholesale.
okay, as long as you understand it.
Should there be a percentage in there or
I
not?
don't know. I just,
What was
Should
the
there be
question?
a percentage in there, you know?
I don't even know how
Yeah.
we would present it because his intention is to get rid of everything. He's got a wholesaler, or he sells wholesale to, I think it's someplace in Alexandria he's got lined up. And if they don't take everything in that year, he wants to, sell discount plants at the side of the road, basically. But that may be a year-to-year thing.
okay.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries.
Okay, my second item is the Mississippi River Sartell and St. Cloud One Watershed One Plan planning boundary. The Mississippi River Sartell and St. Cloud Watershed Planning Group has made a request to split the watershed into 2 planning regions, the Mississippi Sartell and the Mississippi St. Cloud. This request must be approved by local governments before being approved by Bowser. The option B, to adopt the resolution to split the Mississippi Sartell and St. Cloud into separate planning regions, or to not adopt the resolution. The recommendation would be adoption of this resolution to split the Mississippi Sartell and St. Cloud watersheds into separate planning regions to include the Mississippi Sartell and Mississippi St. Cloud.
Okay, I will call for a motion for approval for the splitting of the Sartell and St. Cloud watersheds.
We have discussion, Madam Chair.
Yes.
How does that split take place? Where and how?
It has no impact on Todd County.
Doesn't, okay.
We could have just written an administrative letter, but for the sake of keeping you guys in the loop with these water plans, I thought I'd just bring this here because they were in no rush to get it back or anything. It has less than 10 square miles in Todd County. So we'll be a part of the Mississippi Sartell, not at all involved with the St. Cloud, so it buys us a little time before we have to get involved with the Sartell watershed, but our area is so small that we can opt out of this anyway. So it's really just for the sake of partnership more than anything to support them in their request to split the watershed.
Any further discussion? I will ask for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Kircher, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Newman. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Then we'll move to solid waste.
Oh, he is here.
Come on down.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning, Chris and Jeremy.
Good morning.
So Chair, the first 2 board action items we have are kind of interrelated, so if I could just introduce them first, and that'll, I think,
Can you pull the mic in, please?
Thank you. That'll help explain the context. And it's in the description there too, but the second board action form we're requesting is the final grant application for the $3.97 million that has been, through the legislator, apportioned through bonding to Todd County for construction of a new transfer station building. As part of development of that, one of the requests is that we identify how we're paying for the local fund portion of that money. And through discussions and committee meetings with the auditor and other members of the county, it was agreed to that that money would come out of both the solid waste department's funds and out of general funds as a loan to the solid waste department. So for the purpose of that final application, which we would want this resolution to be a part of, we wanted to get that in writing so that as we move forward with the project, there would be no confusion where that money came from and how it would be paid back.
Okay, if I may add, I tried to look through the pages. There were a lot of pages last night to
Yeah.
look through.
Yes.
It's quite a large packet. Is it stated in there how the money will be returned back? I know we had this discussion at one of the meetings. Interest rate, payment schedule, was any of that ever?
From solid waste back
to the county?
Could we go to the next page, auditor? So in this resolution right here, if I could just read it.
Okay.
Whereas Todd County has made application for a capital assistance program grant to construct a new transfer station building, scale house, and associated exterior improvements at the existing transfer station facility in Browerville, and Todd County is preparing a final grant application. This project, as proposed, has an estimated local cost of $1,512,210. Whereas the final grant application requires Todd County to identify how it will pay for the local cost of the project. Now, this is the meat of it that I think you're asking, Chair.
Right.
And quite frankly, I just made this up with discussion with your auditor and for your comment that if you want to change it, we're fine. We would, it's your decision. Now, therefore, be it resolved by Todd County's Board of Commissioners that the Solid Waste Department will pay $540,000 of the local project cost from its own account balance during the construction of the project, and the Todd County General Fund will loan the remaining estimated local cost of $972,210 to the Solid Waste Department. Be it further resolved, the Department of Solid Waste will pay an interest rate of 0% per year on the principal borrowed from the general fund and will make minimum principal payments back to the general fund of $50,000 per year until the remaining principal is $0, with the first payment to be made no later than the calendar year 2023.
Okay. Any discussion on that, commissioners?
Yes, Madam Chair. If you're to pay $540,000, what is your balance funds, your capital improvement funds total?
Currently, our balance fund is right around that 1.7 million on average.
Commissioner?
Yes.
If I could just also add to that, when we met and did a kickoff meeting with the county staff committee, prior to the meeting, we discussed this with the auditor, and one of the things that they helped us with to prepare was a look at our account balance over the last 4 years, 4 to 5 years. And over that 4 to 5 year period, our account balance has never been less than 1.3. So if you look at that and you subtract $500,000, you're at an account balance that should never be less than $800,000. A couple other things. Those 0%, it's kind of like asking for your own raise. That's the best we could get from you, but we didn't just make that up. Again, we discussed this with your auditor, and historically the pattern that Todd County has set up is that if you decide to borrow to a department in the past, you have not charged interest. You're the board. If you want to charge us interest, we're not going to disagree with you.
If I may, Madam Chair, we had several discussions with Chris Pelzer, and the kickoff team, and we even looped in Doug Host from CLA, just to go through what the county is going to be entitled to, and all of them came down to this, was the best avenue was to borrow money. Now, again, like Chris is saying, the 0% is just what you've done in past practice, but you can definitely establish, in talking to CLA, you can establish a percentage if you want to put on there. It does involve more paperwork with auditing, and you're not, as we all know, we're not gathering much interest these days, unfortunately. It's pretty minimal. So in visiting with the auditors too, you know, doing your zero that you've done in past practice would be okay, but like Chris and I said, it's totally the board's discretion if you're going to charge an interest rate towards them to make payments. But it'd be much like our past practices where they do an annual payment and it'll run through our office. So the bookworking is all done and we'll receipt it in and keep track of those books and that payment to get it paid off. Much like if you would go out and actually bond for it.
How many years did someone do the paperwork? How many year payment is this out? How many years is it out?
That on the 20th year, we'd make a half a payment.
On the 20th year, you make a half payment.
And that bond usually goes out between 10 and 20-year bonds too, so.
0% might be more than what we're making now.
That's exactly right.
The cost to bond is actually high enough that at $1
Yes.
million, you're paying a lot of money just to do the paperwork.
Well, I guess my thought was, and I think you said you were just throwing out figures at 540,000, is can you afford to pay more than that?
We can, and the way that that number was developed is that, and the 50,000 is that our department has been putting in $50,000 a year towards a building improvement fund. And so I just was trying to take that narrative and continue it forward. Yeah, we could put more in if you want.
Well, if you're gonna pay 540,000 and you're still would you still be putting away 50,000 a year for the construction project during that period of payback? So you could increase it by 50,000.
Yeah.
So it could be 590,000 a year. Am I right? Am I figuring right, or?
Well, actually, yes. So that 540 that we're showing there would be the account balance as of the end of this year. So as of the end of 2023, there would be 590,000.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I don't know what the board feels, but I think we should try and get more, pay this off sooner, and, I just wanna make sure we're not cutting you tight on your budget up there to, you know, pretty soon you say, well, we can't make it, then we're, well, then the board could go back and review it and rechange the figures, I'm sure, but I think we should start out as high as we could on payback, and then if you have to weasel down, you can weasel down, you know.
Jeremy, in your building fund, is that for repairs too? You know, your money that you're putting away every year?
Yeah, there's kind of two accounts. There's the 50,000 we put away every year, and then we do have another one for just maintenance.
For
building
maintenance, okay, because I was going to say, you got to keep your maintenance fund up there, because you're going to still have maintenance even with a new building, yeah.
Yeah, the one thing that we don't have a dedicated fund for, that will come up in the next 10 years is closure of your landfill. There's no funds set aside for that, and, you know, if I was to just take a silly guess at that, you know, you're talking about $1 million project,
Okay.
so.
But at that time, there could be funding available, if you're gonna have to close your landfill from the state or from the federal government on closing that, am I right?
There's,
I mean, we don't know, but,
yeah, we have I have no knowledge of that, but
yeah.
the closure process has been a requirement in the state law for years, and it's just a matter of what your current lifetime is, so.
Okay. Commissioners, any other questions?
My only comment would be that I don't believe it's a 50,000 flat thing. I mean, if you do well and have a bigger balance than what you thought, you could certainly pay more. I don't think there's any restrictions to that on this either, is there? And there's never been
Set
any,
up a amortization with just a set payment of the
Right,
amount he indicated, but.
yeah, but there's not a
but
problem
no,
with it.
I mean, we would just receipt it in, and the 50,000 that he's talking about is like the capital improvement that we do here. So that is set aside each year in their budget. But yeah, they definitely, if they're having a better year, but if you want to increase it to the 600,000 or whatever
Well,
Commissioner Kircher was suggesting.
We drafted the resolution to say minimum payments for that purpose.
Right.
That we kind of hoping that this isn't something we would have to come back to every year. So let's say we do 100,000, that's great, but we don't want it to be that, well, this year was a bad year, so we want permission to go to 50. Let's set a
Right.
minimum. And then at the end, each year, we can look at this and, as a committee, decide what the payment will be that year.
Right.
The capital improvement fund does not include any equipment, though. I mean, I don't want to take a fund away that's going to be,
Nope, not for that.
No.
okay,
This is totally separate fund.
okay,
Yeah, meant for the building is what it was
Yep.
meant for.
yeah, okay.
And Madam Chair, in the Solid Waste Committee, I was in support of the 0% on the interest because it's taxpayers' money. So why would we charge the taxpayers more money on their money? It just, to me, it didn't make any sense. So that's why I was in support of the 0% interest.
Okay, are we ready to call for a motion? Is there a motion for approval?
Madam
How
Chair,
would you like that motion
I
to
would
read?
like to move that we make a payment of 540,000 from the solid waste fund, plus 50,000 additional, which is out of capital improvement funds, as can be afforded. So in other words, if you can't afford the 50,000, you don't have to, you can cut it down to 45 or 30, but I think I would like to start out high so we can at least make some good progress. And I don't know, does all the commissioners understand what I'm saying there?
Okay, I will.
I'll
add-
second it.
Second, but a motion was by Kircher, second by Knizel. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. So our next item is, as we talked about, related to this, now this is for the resolution to authorize signature of the final grant application for this project. And the language that was provided herein was provided by the state of Minnesota. On the next page, I believe it is.
Okay.
So essentially, they gave us this language and said, fill in your county name and your project. And this is the required process for us to submit the final application is by resolution. If you'd like, I can give you more background information.
Commissioners? What's
No,
your wishes?
I do have a question, Madam Chair. Then after we sign this, or approve this, then what's the next step?
The next step is for them to approve it.
Okay.
And I do not have an estimated timeline for that. I have talked to Jeannie Given at the MPCA about it. We recently went through one of these with a smaller project that we will have as the next board item, and it took them more than a month to do that. So as I recall it, they will have a sorry, let me think. They will have a grant contract, is what it's called, that I believe I will need to bring to you to approve. And that grant contract has general language in it it is truly a contract that we are promising to abide by. And once we receive that, then you are allowed to hire your design professionals to start permitting and designing for bidding the project.
Okay. the tail end kind of answered what I really was after, to
Okay.
see when we could start construction or, you know, designing and then construction, so. We're really getting behind the 8 ball because we really wanted to start this a year ago, but,
Actually, the building is actually set not to be start building until 2022, correct?
Correct.
And finished in 2023?
Correct. And the grant contract, as we've discussed it with the state of Minnesota, is their requirement for you is for it to complete construction in 2024.
Okay.
So while we're all anxious to complete the project, we have met as a committee and we've discussed it with our interested party for the engineering services and come up with a draft schedule. And, you know, while we're anxious to do the work, what's really the next step is in the state's hands, and we can't move that forward faster than that is. But it is like Chair Becker said, the schedule we have is for them to do the permitting and design and building so that we can start construction in the spring of 2022.
and I guess my request would be, could the county board get a preliminary schedule so we know, you know, just in printed, so we kind of have it's not going to be accurate, I understand that, but at least a summarization of our schedule, where we're going to be down the road.
I can provide that for you. It is also in the minutes of the first meeting we had with the
Yeah.
the staff here, so I can forward that to you.
But I would like all the commissioners to have that, so we can look
Yep.
at that and see that.
Okay, I will write that down.
Madam Chair, with my conversation I had with Representative Poston on Friday, he would like to get together with all of us and go through this as soon as session's over. So we'll keep that in mind, and
Sure.
as soon as session's over, we'll get him up here.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll ask for a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Kneisel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Any discussion? Any further discussion? Should this be a roll call, or can it just be a normal vote?
Whatever you choose, Madam Chair.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And it carries.
It's just like any grant, we gotta play by their rules,
Yeah.
That's right.
follow the steps.
So then the next item we have for your consideration is the film plastic collection program agreement. We've met and shared this with your solid waste committee. We've had a work session on this, and we've shared this with your attorney. I'll just read the background if I could. Ottertail County applied for and received a grant for $232,000 to reduce local costs to resume a film plastic collection program. Film plastic being like the egg wrap from your farmers. Local counties, including Todd County, have not consistently collected film plastics since collection by a third party was discontinued approximately 3 years ago. Ottertail County has invited Todd County to share in the benefit of the grant to receive collection services from Ottertail County. The attached agreement has been reviewed with Todd County's Solid Waste Committee, work session, and attorney. And the copy of the agreement provided herein is not signed by Ottertail County, but our Ottertail County's board met last Tuesday, and I have a signed copy for you. Not sure what else. How much do you want me to talk about this?
Questions, commissioners?
I do, Madam Chair, in sharing, what does that mean?
If we could go to there's this estimated cost table. So, this is the agreement.
Okay. Let me know when I get there.
If you would go to the EAP and then just go up one page.
That EAP is something else.
Okay, and then go up one page.
That'll go back to the board action.
Okay. Can
I just have to go all the way
Do
through
you
it,
mind if I
guess.
stand
You
to
go.
point on the screen? It's basically end of the,
Okay, then I just have to keep rolling. I'm sorry. It's
no,
just,
that's fine. I'll try to talk so the speaker hears me.
I guess what I was getting at, Chris, when they say share, I mean, do we
must be there.
share in the cost, obviously, but how do we get the plastic from A to B, or what's the deal there? Huh?
Okay.
Yeah,
As long as we're here, let's go through this. So this is quite, have you seen this?
yeah, I'm just
Okay.
asking questions about what,
So first of all, I'm not in this to sell it. So if you don't
Yeah.
wanna do it, I don't want you to be part of the program. And all new programs, I say I'm not a salesman because all new programs, we're truly doing our best to estimate costs. And could you go just up a little bit?
Sure.
We created some assumptions here based on information that we have available. New vehicle cost, we've called Olympic sales. That's the cost of the new vehicle. Annual insurance cost, $2,000. We've asked MCIT. That's what that cost is. Annual maintenance cost for a new vehicle, $16,000. We have a fleet of 6 vehicles. We took that cost from our data that we have. Labor cost per year is $23,000. I have notes down here that we're basing that on based on our actual cost of labor. Fuel cost, $10,000. We're basing that on mileage that we're seeing. Cost for 50 more bins, that's included in the grant. The grant is a 75% by the state, 25% from us for the purchase of the bins and the truck. All of their costs, as shown in our estimate, are not covered by the grant. In this model, what we're showing here is when I say we, I'm referring to Ottertail County. This is a spreadsheet. We assume that each waste generator or customer or farmer would contribute $200 to the collection of their film plastics. And then we had 200 users. The original data is based on 162. Those are the actual numbers of routes that were collected by Revolution's Plastics. We're anticipating with 50 more containers, we'll get to 200 routes. 50 plus 162 isn't 200. We're trying to be a little conservative. The projected revenue is the money that you would receive from your waste haulers. The way our agreement is written, Ottertail County does not decide how you relate to your constituents. You get to decide how much you want them to pay. You can have them pay for all of the cost. You can have them pay for none of the cost. But we don't want to interfere with that or take that control away from you. So then there's these 4 columns here. That's basically we're sharing the amount of the grant proportionately with each county. I didn't show it in here, but our costs we presented in the grant estimate to the state has Ottertail County spending a lot of money just to do the application and the administration of the grant. We're not asking you to pay for that. What you're paying for is the driver, the truck, and the cost for that driver and truck to move down the road, and the cost of baling, which is the model that we've set up and we're showing costs on it for that material to go to Sauk Center, which is where we're currently sending it. You're sending it there too. They're charging 2.5 cents a pound to bale. Now, there's other interests we have, there's other moving parts that we can do to try to improve this program. I was just on the phone with Pope Douglas. They have some interest in joining this too. Because they, like us, have had difficulty getting a third party to do this consistently. The other thing we've discussed on a committee level is, there may be a benefit to someone buying a baler and doing the baling ourselves closer to the source, so we don't have to drive the material all the way to Sauk Center. Maybe that baler would go at your facility and you would charge the 3 counties the cost of baling. We have a benefit of that for all of us in that we're not hauling the material so far. Hauling is expensive. Revolution's Plastics is currently going to Becker County to pick up their plastics, so they can come 30 miles more and pick it up here as well. If you could just move down the screen a little bit. So what I've tried to do just for a tangible is what's the cost per user come to your county and do a collection once a month, every month, 12 months out of the year. We think that's kind of conservative because as we've seen it, this product is used on a seasonal basis. When the cows are out in the summer, they don't use the egg wrap. It's just storing their feedstock. It's in the winter. Gary's gonna interrupt me if I got this wrong. But we're trying to do that as a conservative number because, you know, if we can get it so that we do less work in the summer, that would be beneficial for all of us. But we have to get caught up and run the program for a couple of years to really know those numbers.
Question, Madam Chair.
Yes.
This popped into my head. Plastic is a recyclable, so we're telling them to get it. What do they do with the plastic then? Do they sell it as a recyclable or?
Yeah, Revolution Plastic actually comes up and picks it up and takes it back to their facility in Arkansas or wherever it is
Okay.
and recycle it.
So then they're making money off the recycling too then?
Absolutely. If they weren't making money, they wouldn't do this.
Yeah.
They just couldn't make the money collecting it,
Right.
basically.
If we had a better option, we'd go do it. But this is like Arkansas, so it's not like there's 20 of these businesses around that do it. Film plastic is not generally recyclable. Just the market isn't there as an outlet for it.
I guess to end all of this, if we join this, what is it gonna cost us? Or are we gonna make money?
Well, with all of our programs, my honest answer to you for all of solid waste is that we run to lose money.
Okay.
You know, so, and if you want a different strategy, we'll do that. And when I say we run to lose money, one of the things is we look at total cost, and then we like to get partnership with the waste generators. And that's where we like to have them share in the pain. Whether you decide it's $200 a year or $439, we don't do it for free because free seems to give people the idea that they can abuse the system. That's my own psychology. But if we put all the cost on them, you know, the reality is doing the right thing is normally more expensive than doing the wrong thing. And what happens then is the material gets sent to the waste to energy facility in Perham or it gets burned. And both of those are problematic. So our department is charged by the state to promote proper solid waste management.
Length of time for this agreement, I think there was.
So within the agreement that we're presenting to you as an exhibit is the state contract. And what we've said in there is that when you agree to work with us on this with Otter Tail County, we showed it to you, we have to follow the state contract. And I believe the date is June 2023 that the grant contract expires. So during that time period, I have to follow that. And so that means you would have to be a partner through the end of that. And we've confirmed that with the state.
So, Madam Chair, that would be 2 years, 2-year
I
agreement,
believe so,
Yeah.
yeah.
which makes sense,
Yeah.
which I'd like to see.
And then at the end of 2 years, we could bring it back and decide to continue or discontinue at that time?
The language in the agreement here has a termination paragraph, and it says, if you could go to the beginning of that, Auditor, just so that you can read it for yourself. If you could just scroll down to the article on termination. So right there's termination. 1, this agreement may be terminated by either party for any reason given a 30-day notice, but no sooner than the date of the end of the grant contract, June 30, 2023. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and I think during our discussions, during work sessions, that it was the equipment, some of the equipment would be split up, but Otter Tail would remain owner of the truck?
That's correct.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, you talked about if we own the baler, What does a baler cost?
$250,000.
And would we be taking away from private industry if we were to do that, or not?
Waste management.
You know, given that we know, I'll call this not wanting to be overconfident in ourselves, I would feel better if we ran the program for 2 years, build a transfer station, and there's the context of the conversation will be so much different at that time. That's the time when we should revisit this subject.
Well, that's my thought process, is that when we're doing construction or nearing end of construction, we should look at whether that baler would be to our benefit.
Right,
So,
I agree.
And also look at the room,
yeah,
space that,
When you think of majoring in majors and minoring in minors, whether the baling is done here or there
yeah,
is kind of a minor, and there's so many moving parts right now.
yeah.
I think we should just get into
Yep.
the new building and get this program
Get
running
into the
first.
process.
Yeah.
okay. Any further questions, or I will ask for a motion for approval? For a motion?
Moved.
Okay, motion by Kircher, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Erickson. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? And carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Quite an audience out there.
We'll have to make popcorn, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you screen
morning.
some of them?
Pardon me?
Did you screen some of them?
Yep, we did,
Good.
especially the lawyer.
Yeah.
Morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners.
Morning.
All right, so we have a couple things that we'd like to review or present to you this morning with BAFs. The first one being the Energy Assistance Program delivery for federal fiscal year 2022. Some background, the critical role of service providers in the administration and delivery of Energy Assistance Program requires Minnesota Department of Commerce to request early notice of possible Energy Assistance Program service provider changes for federal fiscal year 2022. The Department of Commerce requires a written letter no later than April 7th, 2021, clearly stating county's intent to administer and deliver the EAP program for federal fiscal year 2022. Amy has got some numbers that I'm going to have her review, but I'll quick read the options. Options are to approve notification of the Minnesota Department of Commerce, Todd County's intent to administer and deliver energy assistance program for federal fiscal year 2022, or to not approve. And then I'll read the recommendation.
Okay, so I just have the statistics for this year, and of course, the program started September 1st, and this is through yesterday. So we have had 1,129 applications and have awarded $812,275 of primary heat. We have had 145 crisis households, which we have awarded $68,339 to. And we have had 67 ERR calls, the emergency repair and replacement of heating systems, which we have used $153,844. So, and actually statewide, which is kind of interesting to me, especially with the COVID going on, statewide, the applications are down by 10%. And we're not really sure why. And then the other interesting thing that has just been announced is the $638 million for a new program to help the low-income families pay their drinking water and wastewater utility bills. And the Energy Assistance Program will be administering that. So I'm not sure how that's going to look. because it is just, you know, recently been announced. But I do assume that that will extend our program year, you know, after May 31st, to distribute that money to the households that would qualify for it.
Is that strictly a Minnesota come down, or is it related to COVID?
It was in the coronavirus relief bill.
It was, okay.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is going to be interesting. We have experienced a lot of our households that, you know, do have problems paying those bills, so we'll see how it goes.
Madam Chair, I just have a question. Amy, did ours follow through like the state? Do you know, was it 10% down in county also? Or do you have a comparison to what it kind of ranged like that?
Yes, we are not down quite as much as some of the different service providers, but the average is 10%.
So it's our recommendation that the Todd County Board of Commissioners approves the following by motion. To approve notification to the Minnesota Department of Commerce, Todd County's intent to administer and deliver the Energy Assistance Program for federal fiscal year 2022.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Erickson, is there a second?
Second.
And by Newman, discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you so much, Amy. Thanks for coming in.
You are welcome.
Next BAF is one we report out when we do have board meetings, the COVID-19 situation update. As of March 16th, 2021, Todd County has had 2,528 lab-confirmed COVID-19 positive cases and 30 related deaths. Cases no longer needing isolation is 2,504, which is 99% of that population. Again, males are 1,171 and females being 1,339 at 53% and males being at 46.3%. Our age ranges for Todd County is 2 months to 103 years. Total COVID tests performed in Todd County as of March 11th is 24,609 with a 9.3 cumulative positivity rate. Positivity rate for February 21st through the 27th, 2021 equals about 5.5% for Todd County with a 3.2% state average. Total vaccines administered to date is 2,112. And I have a few other things that I can review with you. First vaccine doses statewide is 4,484. Second doses completed with the series is 3,000, not statewide, it is within Todd County, 4,484 within Todd County. And then second doses received within Todd County, which is the series, is 3,082. This, as of to date, again, first doses tomorrow will be for appointment clinics will be 100, and then second doses will be delayed till next week. As 4 weeks ago is when we had those vaccine delays due to weather, so we won't have any second doses this week, but we'll be offering first dose appointments. Priority groups, we are still working on the 65 plus. We are working on working on more availability to our general population as well. We sent out a new message on KUIL and on the radio station in Staples, as well as in the newspapers. People aged 45 and older with one or more underlying medical conditions, or age 18 and over with 2 or more underlying medical conditions. People 50 plus in multi-generational housing, and frontline workers being in agricultural, food production, food retail, food service, manufacturing, public transit, and postal service workers. Again, our appointment lines will open up Friday at noon and calling the 4500 number 732-4500, selecting option 1 to establish an appointment. And first come, first served basis again. Vaccine is being more widely available throughout the county with the hospitals and the clinics. Again, within our Todd County clinics. And then we're starting to see some vaccine come through our pharmacies. And thus far, so we're recommending people, if they want to receive the vaccine at their pharmacy, to call out to them and see what their availability is. But we know that Coburn's and Long Bella is offering some vaccine, a limited amount of vaccine availability for appointments. We are working with our food processing corporations, our plants. We've completed Minnesota Fresh and Enterprise CP, which is out at the old Ponta building. And Lakewood is to vaccinate Dan's Prize this week and starting to vaccinate the packing plant the next couple Saturdays. So we're getting there. We are trying to do as much as we can to get people vaccinated as quickly as we can so we can get back to some sort of normalcy, whatever that looks like in the near future.
Commissioners? Questions? Are we still having, people are still interested in still calling in as far as the 100 shots go a week per, or the number?
Yep, we filled up fairly quickly, I believe, last week when we were able to open that up to the populations. But I see that being real busy as with the amount of vaccine we're going to get in the next couple of weeks, and then it seems to taper off as we get people through or they've gotten to their provider or their clinic or pharmacy to be vaccinated. So.
Okay. Any other studies coming down as far as, will this be a yearly shot yet? Any information coming on that end of it?
We've been asking, but we haven't heard anything whether there's going to be a booster yet or not required and how it's going to be administered in the near future. I am hopeful it'll be maybe possibly in the flu shot or in combination with another vaccine so that we're not having to give a COVID vaccine booster annually.
Okay, and as far as people having problems after the shot, they're kind of consistent of what's been going on?
You know, it's
or?
kind of been, Commissioner Becker, it's been a hit and a miss. We're finding that, that our older populations don't seem to be so symptomatic after their second shot, where the younger you are, you seem to possibly have reactions with your second dose administration. We have gotten only Moderna at this point. There is Johnson & Johnson that is out there, but we have yet to see that at the county level, local level through public health. But it's kind of a hit and miss when it comes to how you react to the vaccine, the second dose vaccine administration.
Madam Chair, if I may ask,
Yes.
just because I've had conversation with elderly out there, and I've had 2 individual ladies that had the second shot and tested positive like a week later and were down sick. So can you kind of clear that up? Because there's kind of some confusion out there with people that are like, you're not going to get COVID, you're not going to get this, you're not going to test positive. And then I know personally 2 people that have.
Your efficacy is at its higher about 3 weeks after you receive your second dose. So we are all still subject
You
to
can still get
COVID,
it.
but I think some people assume that they have it. So if they're really feeling that they may be symptomatic for it, to get tested just to verify whether they have it or not. There's a lot of people have that hesitancy as they did around the flu vaccine as well, that they assume that they get the flu from the vaccine, and that's typically not the case. A lot of times it just might be ironic, but if they're really suspecting that they may be positive, then they should really be tested to confirm that or not.
Thank you.
It's no different. I get the flu shot, I can still get the flu.
Can,
So
absolutely.
it's like one of those things.
Yeah. Well, there's just some
Yeah, I
people
know.
are so confused that they think that it's like
Think
a
that
miracle
it's a-
thing that they're never going to get.
And we're really trying to work with our populations that are coming in to be sure they're not scheduled elsewhere, because we have found that some people have been double booked. So we want to make sure that they don't get too many doses as well, as much as we can if we know.
Jackie, I had an interesting question. Can someone that had the shot relay COVID on to someone else? It was a pregnant woman that asked me. And she says, I'm so scared to be out there because everybody's getting the shot. Am I going to get COVID from these people?
That have had the shot.
That
We
have had
still
the
do
shot.
shed the virus. It's really those that have received the vaccine have a better efficacy and immunity to the vaccine.
Okay, but is someone that Okay, I got a shot. Could I give it to a pregnant worker?
Possibly.
or-
You know, the efficacy is not 100%, so we
Okay.
could be still shedding that virus, yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
Still
Thank
a
you.
lot to
Keep
be
up the good
learned.
work.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
Chair Becker, Commissioners.
Pull the microphone down to you there, Sarah.
Closer to the microphone.
Me? I wasn't sure if Chris was going to speak to this, or I will. She hasn't in
Oh.
the past.
I can speak to this. Madam Chair, I have a board action this morning to approve the 2021 LELS contract. The background is the Todd County negotiations team met with the LELS union representatives, and we have reached a tentative agreement. Highlights of the agreement include no change to health insurance premium, cost sharing, a 2% general wage increase for 2021, and a $50 increase in clothing allowance and elimination of the sick leave bonus. The options are to adopt the tentative agreed LELS contract or not adopt the tentative LELS contract. And the recommendation is the Todd County Board of Commissioners authorize the adoption of the LELS unit collective bargaining agreement for 2021.
Okay. Are there any questions, Commissioners? If there's no questions, I'd ask for a motion for the adoption of the LELS contract.
So moved.
Motion by Kircher. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kneisel. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to standing reports. Auditor Treasurer,
I have nothing to report today, thank you.
Commissioners, any meetings you want to report on? If not, Coordinator?
Madam Chair, the only update that I would have is that I have been watching the federal guidelines or the Treasury guidelines for the potential federal funding that we will be receiving, and working closely with the Auditor's Office on sharing additional information with the Commissioners very soon.
Okay.
Oh, Chris, we're gonna get more money to spend?
We're a million.
Yes, we are. We're slated to receive potentially 4.78 million. They're still trying to shore up those amounts. And I've been working with Denise and Jolene on what that process might be to certify for the money. The answer to that question seems to change frequently, and I'm just hoping that at the next board meeting, we'll be able to provide you with some additional information on how much and what the funds can be used for.
It also sounded like this was going to be coming in a two-part funding?
That is the information we have right now. There's a potential that the funding will come, the first half of that funding would be coming within 60 days, and then the second half of the funding would come 12 months later.
I bet they give us 30 days to spend it too, huh?
Madam Chair,
2024.
Commissioner Kircher, this time they're looking at a deadline of December 31st of 2024 to have all
Oh,
funds spent.
2024.
Yeah.
man. Wow.
Any further questions for Chris? If not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn for the month of March.
So move.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Erickson. The March meeting will be adjourned. Our next meeting is April 6th? Okay, very well. And then Welcome to Tuesday, March 16th. The time is 10:19, and we will go into the work session. Attending remotely would be the media and Chris Pelzer, coordinator. Attending in person, Jody, and I might crucify you, Diebold. From the food shelf, Tom Selno from Selno Law, Mitch Johnson from Facilities, Sarah Ogren, Human Services, Adam Osterfield, Planning and Zoning and Soil and Water, Denise and Jolene from the Auditor's Office. And commissioners are all present, so we'll go ahead and have Jody come forward from the food shelf. Good morning.
Morning.
For approximately 30-plus years, I have been running or requesting money from FEMA for the food shelves. Over the years, well, I've originally got it from Tim Gallagher, so it was that. And we originally started out getting direct funding from FEMA for the food shelves. And in 1 year, we got $14,000. But that was the top amount that we got. Then in about, time goes so fast, but I'm thinking maybe 8 years ago, we no longer qualified for direct funds, and we now get state set aside because we didn't have enough unemployment or we weren't poor enough, whatever the reason was. So over the years, things have changed from paper to computer. And with Food Shelf, I'm working with older people, my age or older, and it's become quite cumbersome for us to e-doc sign and all that good stuff. Then we got CARES money, and our last amounts were $11,953, which we got for Phase 37, and $17,042 for CARES money. FEMA isn't real good at doing things in a timely manner, so I get very frustrated with them. The last time I called him, he says, "Do you have a question or are you venting?" And I said, "I'm venting." But I've had more and more trouble getting people to do this. A few years ago, social services or health and had a portion of it. We usually divide it up percentage by what their programs are, how much they spend. We currently have Briarville Food Shelf, Long Prairie Food Shelf, and Staples. Bertha opted out. Health and Human Services opted out. Red Cross is no longer in our county, and it is county funds. So what I'm requesting is if you would consider having an employee here do the reporting and the requesting and the advertising and e-doc signing and things like that. I have a recommendation. I asked a few years ago that Jenna Peterson would do it for the county. They declined. And so I would think that since Mike Wisniewski is in
Emergency management.
that emergency would be a good place for it. If it was, there's no pay involved, but we do get, I have currently, over the years, always run it through Long Prairie Combined Fund. And so we, out of Combined Fund, pay the advertising, and then we get that back from FEMA. And we don't get any funds other than that. I would be willing to stay on the board to help him, but I just think that, and I've told people this, if something happens to me, nobody else is going to know what to do. And so I would like to, at this point, have someone that could take it over and help me with it.
And help him.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Chris, has this been discussed with you at all, or?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Kneisel,
Yes.
no, this would be the first I've heard of it.
Okay.
But, I definitely could follow up with Jody and have a conversation with her just to get a better understanding of what this entails, and then really find out if this is even something that can be handled by emergency management. I'm not sure if there's specific rules around food shelf and who can do these types of things.
Madam Chair, if I may, does the city of Long Prairie have an emergency management director? They should have.
However, this is a county project. And each year we have to advertise it, and we have to open it up to any, because it's under the auspices of United Way. And I think that's how Combined Fund originally got it in their hands, because Long Prairie Combined Fund was like a United Way. Other organizations that are in it are Salvation Army, Red Cross, Jewish or whatever they're called, Jewish board, and things like that. So we have a board that I have the directors of each of the food shelves on it. I have the sheriff, the Dave Griever. I have churches and Combined Fund people. Doug Schmidt as a representative of Red Cross. We don't have meetings because one of the stipulations is if you have a quarterly meetings, you have to have minutes. If you don't have quarterly meetings, then you can just send them the results of your. So this last time for the new phase 38 that we just applied for, we're getting $8,743 that will be split up 35% Staples, 25% Briarville, and 40% Long Prairie. How we came to that was because in the past, Lutheran Social Services has requested to share some of the funds for their food programs, the Eagle Bend Kitchen. And I had tried to have a Zoom meeting, but we were kind of under the gun, so we did a telephone conference meeting, and I had all of our board members vote on whether we should include LSS or not. And so our vote was 5-2 that we should not include them, that the need was enough in our local food shelves to keep it, because LSS does have other income.
So, Madam Chair, got a question. Jody, what is your average budget for a year?
Budget, you mean?
As far as what it costs to run the food shelf within Todd County, the three of them?
Well, I didn't bring that with me, but Staples, I believe, is around 30,000.
Okay.
Long Prairie is a tad over that because they pay more rent for their facility.
Okay.
I believe Staples pays very little. Barville, I don't think, pays any rent to their, so Barville is a much smaller program, and that's how we came to the 40, 25, and 35% of the funds.
All right.
And I don't know, I think this CARES money really helped them out this year because I'm sure all of the programs were hit a little harder this year. Because the food shelf is really designed up to 3 months during the year. But I believe it has come to where they have repeat, or people that come every month,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't turn them away.
Right.
Briarville takes care of Clarissa, Eagle Bend, Bertha. Some Eagle Bend people go to them. Staples, and we take care of Gray Eagle and down around the southern part of the county and Long Prairie.
Okay.
Have you seen a variation of people visiting after the food, I don't know what to call them, but the food giveaways per se?
I can't answer to that question because I'm not on the food shelf board.
Okay.
I'm only on the combined fund board.
Okay.
So that's my only connection there.
Well, I think
Yeah.
Commissioner Kircher mentioned maybe that the coordinator could make contact with Jody and then talk about this a little bit and then bring back maybe some options or some information in regards to it, and that would be a good starting point anyways.
I agree with you. I really do. We'll look into this and see, what our involvement can be.
That's all I ask.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
For the information.
Come on in, Tom.
Good morning, Tom. Buy a mic. Yeah.
Who that masked man was.
I
Morning,
just ask
Tom.
that you speak into the microphone so the media can hear.
Tom, we did receive 2 letters, one last night and one this morning. Should they be read? And I think we sent you a copy of them.
I received 2 emails this morning
Ye-
from Jolene, and I've had a chance to look at those. Whether you choose to read them, I guess, is up to you folks.
I guess I just assumed, because I don't want to say that we're being biased about not having this information put out, so I'll go ahead and read the 2 letters at this time. And they're addressed to the Todd County Commissioners dated, this is dated, I should read this one first. This is dated 3/15 of 2021. Todd County Commissioners, it is high time to work together to accomplish something for a common ground. The Ag Society has been in ownership of numerous buildings located at the fairgrounds. They have purchased them, raised money for construction of them, or have been purchased and relocated. Included are the former Methodist food stand, the entertainment pavilion, the horse and poultry swine barn, and sideshow ring. The Ag Society isn't the only organization to own a building that sits at the fairgrounds or on any other municipal property. Its examples can be seen throughout the county. We see hangars at the airport owned privately, and the land building it sits on is leased. The American Lutheran Church food stand sits at the fairground, and it has a lease that has been in place on it. We see numerous leases at trailer parks in our community where trailer houses is sitting on leased land. So why can't a lease agreement be drawn up for the food stand with the Ag Society? We all know it can be done. Chuck, the county attorney, said it's easy to be done at the facility meeting held at the Expo building last fall. Why was the food stand repairs due to the vehicle crash not completed last year? Bob Arnes was told by Mitch Johnson to not complete the repairs. It has been said the facility committee gave him the power to halt the repairs. How can they control the repairs on a building they don't own? The building has sat in disarray for 2 winters already. How much longer is the county board going to prevent repairs? The money has been in the county account for over a year. Now, thanks to COVID, the cost of materials has skyrocketed. The repairs will need to be bid again. I feel it's only fitting and proper that the county comes up with the extra money due to the material price rising. Due to the insurance claim being paid out for the accident, the Ag Society was willing to work with the county to split the cost to renovate the whole building, but want a lease agreement drawn up and finalized before such renovations would begin. I have been told numerous times that the facility committee wants to work with us for a common good. The only problem is that I get the feeling that the facility committee is only willing to work with us if we support their agenda and do not have an agenda of our own. I have always wondered why there are no official meeting minutes taken at the facility committee meetings. In my opinion, it would eliminate a lot of argument about what was said and talked about at the meeting. The information and decisions made would be in black and white and not he said, she said format. After all, the facility committee can spend up to a certain amount of money. Thank you for your time, Mike. And that was from Mike, and actually Wheelenberg signed it. The second letter I would like to read was sent on 3/16 of 2021. Todd County Commissioners, I wish to address the issue of ownership of the building located at the Todd County Fairgrounds. Buildings in question are the former Peace United Food Stand, which was purchased by the Todd Ag Society June 16th of 2009. Former Long Prairie J.C. building, which is utilized as an entertainment building, was transferred of ownership was on June 2nd, 2012. These transactions were approved at regular meetings of the Ag Society. The Ag Society has been maintaining and approving both of these structures. Documentation of these transactions was presented to the Todd County Board of Commissioners and accepted by them on file with the auditor's office. There had in the past been 2 food stands located near each one. One was American Lutheran, the other one was Peace United. The American Lutheran was removed when it was replaced with their current structure in 1968. At this time, the Peace United structure remains and was utilized by them until sold to the Ag Society. Both of these were in place for several decades and were a part of the Todd County Fair. If they were accepted as past ownerships, why is it not allowed to continue? Transfer of ownership was in good faith and accepted by all parts in the past and should be continued. The last structure was built was a livestock building. I gotta take a drink. Let's see, the last structure that was built was a livestock building, which is used for horse stalls. Small animals and swine and sheep, according to the Ag Society meeting minutes. This building was funded by the Ag Society. There's nothing noting, boy, I'm not gonna be able to continue this. There is nothing noted as to any transfer of ownership to Todd County. Does this mean that the Ag Society owns that also, or has it been what's that?
Relinquished.
Thank you. The question that arises is ownership and control was accepted and approved, then why does it not continue? Everything was without question until the food stand was damaged in an auto in November of 2019, Delvin Durheim. With that read, I will open it up to Tom. Excuse me.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me make a couple of comments. First of all, I saw these emails this morning, and I would like commissioners and community at large to know that I have a lot of respect for volunteers. That's how things get done. And these folks on the Fair Board are volunteers, and I certainly appreciate the work that they do each year, and understand they have concerns with that. The second thing I would share is that the Auditor Treasurer's Office contacted me, Denise contacted me, and she said, we're trying to figure out what's going on out here, and here's some materials that you can take a look at. So my charge was take a look and give my opinion as to what's going on. My charge was not take a look and render an opinion that's most favorable to the county or to the Fair Board. So I came in taking a look at everything that's here, and I guess you have to respect that it's my opinion and someone else may have a different opinion, but my charge was look at it and tell us what's going on. So with that, I did make a presentation to a work group on February 26th, I believe, that Madam Chair was there and Rod Erickson and several other folks were there. But as we step back and take a look, I start my exam, if you will, of the documents with the deed from 1978 from the Todd County Ag Society to the Todd County. Now, a couple things about that deed. First of all, it's a warranty deed and not a quit-claim deed, and that's important under real estate law, because a warranty deed can convey after acquired interests, as opposed to a quit-claim deed, which gives anyone or gives someone the interest you have at a particular time. In law school, they said, well, you can give me a quit-claim deed for the the Twin Stadium, and I'll give you a deed for the Viking Stadium. They don't mean anything because we don't have any interest in it. But if you give a warranty deed, then you're guaranteeing that you in fact have an interest in conveying that. Plus, you convey after acquired interest. Typically, when you're an entity such as the county, or you would want to give a quitclaim. But a warranty deed was given, and it did include the word appurtenance, and was asked to make sure that I, dwelled on that word or explained that word. And I'll go into it a little bit later, but there's a case on it. It includes things that are associated with it. Specifically, it can include things like tangible things that are fixed to the improvements. Now, this can be a question of fact, whether or not appurtenances, which would mean any improvement on that property at the time the deed was given. And I think that at least one of the food stands that's in question was on that property at the time that the 1978 deed was given. And by my interpretation of the word appurtenance, it was included in the conveyance, and thus the county owns it and not the Fair Board. Okay. Now, one of the concerns, one of the factors that comes into play is the status of the Todd County Agricultural Society. And as I mentioned, they are not currently in good standing. I don't know if you can, how quickly you can get to Exhibit D.
I don't know if I can quickly in any of this stuff, but just bear with me.
You're getting there. See, one more. Okay, stop there. Todd County Agricultural Society, Inc., inactive. Scroll down a little more for us. And next page, I guess. Stop. It has been involuntarily dissolved since September 20 of 2005. And if I were arguing for Todd County Agricultural Society, I would not want that situation to be in place. There's a case that's called Stone v. Jetmar that says a conveyance to an LLC that's not unorganized is void. So presumably any conveyance that's made to the Todd County Agricultural Society since September 20, 2005 is arguably void. That includes There's a lease with the Prairie Building in April of 2008 that the county entered into. There's a letter from the J.C.'s from June of 2012. That's that Beer Gardens Entertainment Building, I think, that you're referring to. And there's the interaction with the Peace United Church from June of 2009, you know, the $500 check in exchange for the building. I have other concerns about those, but the first concern I have is that the entity itself is not a valid entry and hasn't been for almost 16 years, 15 and a half years. Now, it's fixable. They need to, you know, do some things to do it, but they should, and that should be done immediately. And while that's not determinative of my opinion that the Todd County Agricultural Society doesn't have an ownership interest in that Peace United building, or doesn't have an interest in the building that was formerly the Beer Gardens, it's also a factor. With respect to the Peace United, it was part of the improvements at the time of the 1978 deed, is my understanding, and included in the definition of hereditaments. Now, one of the other things that comes into play is how do you convey this type of property? Typically, one might convey with a deed, whether it's a quitclaim or a warranty deed. And if you go to, let's see, the letter from the J.C.'s is J. Here we go. That's it. There, scroll right there. Perfect. So, this is a letter from a non-existent entity. It says that as last elective of the now disbanded Long Prairie J.C. So this is a letter from an entity that doesn't exist that purports to convey ownership in a building to the Todd County Agricultural Society, which is not properly registered with the Minnesota Secretary of State. I just have a hard time accepting that there's anything that legally happened with that. Now, if you go back, you know, a couple of exhibits, let's see here, which one I want you on. I. Okay, so this is what I understand to be the building permit for building what I'm going to call the Beer Gardens or entertainment building. I guess it's got another name too, but it was submitted, you know, to the city. There's some question of whether or not that was even necessary. In fact, I don't think it was, because you're not subject to the city's building restrictions. But it does indicate that it's a Todd County, you know, / LPJCs. So, you know, the JCs are going to build it. They built it on your property. Again, I think that's a third indicator that the county owns that particular building. You know, there was no entity in place, you know, by either the J.C.'s or the Todd County Agricultural Society, and the J.C.'s are acknowledging that they're building it on your property. And again, I'm not looking at this and trying to find all the facts that I think favor the county. I just think these are the facts, and this is where they land, in my opinion. Would someone else have a different opinion? Perhaps, but now we can talk about the United Church, Peace United building. Now, I sent a second email late yesterday.
At the end of this one.
If you hit your down arrow,
You
can jump right to it.
Sorry.
Okay, so this is kind of out of order, but you know, this is $500 that they're offering Peace United for that building, and this is what I believe that Mr. Dornheim is discussing in his letter. If we go, you know, to the next page, you know, they're extending an offer to purchase the food stand for $500, and the next page is a copy of the check. Okay, so, all right. You know, the argument that the Todd County Agricultural Society makes is that we bought this building from these folks for $500. Here's all the things, and I'm not moved by that, because number one, at this time, the Todd County Agricultural Society is not in properly registered with the Minnesota Secretary of State, and because they're not authorized to do business. Second, this particular building was there when the warranty deed of 1978 was given, and my definition of appurtenant is that the improvements, including this building, were conveyed by that deed. So I don't know what they bought for $500, but maybe it's a termination of a lease or something that some sort of unofficial lease or something, but they got the right of occupancy. They did retain, on their deed to you, and you're probably aware of that. If you wanted to go way back, you can. It's back on my executive summary is where that is at. Roll to the bold, next page, I guess. The bold language. That's a reservation that's contained in the deed to the county that the Todd County Agricultural Society retains the right to possess the property the week before the fair, the week of the fair, and the week after. I think that's enforceable. I think it's appropriate. I don't see any issues with that. I think it's consistent with Minnesota statute, chapter 38 and such. So so you got the Peace United building that's there when they give you the deed. The fact that I don't know how you convey a building like that, but I'm not sure you do it with a letter. You got the beer gardens, which the J.C.'s built, and on the building permit, they're saying that Todd County's there, so they're acknowledging that you have an ownership interest in that. And then there's a letter from the defunct J.C.'s to a corporation that isn't properly registered, the Todd County Agricultural Society, that purports to transfer it. And again, I don't know how you transfer a building like that, but I don't think that's going to work. And so the last item that Mr. Delvern's letter raises is the improvement to the livestock building. And when we had our work session, there was some talk about a grant came, and I wasn't sure if it came to the Ag Society or not. But they're making improvements to your land, and if they're going to make improvements to your land, they need to have some sort of agreement as to what those improvements are what rights they're going to have of control of that. There is the lease with the Prairie Building, which I think is, that's going to be F. Okay, so that's you're agreeing to lease it to them for, and yeah, there you go. That's part. So they get to lease it and such. And I think that's. I don't have any opinion whether this is a good deal or a bad deal, but it's a deal, and I think it's probably enforceable by the parties that are there. Although I would recommend that the Todd County Ag Society get refreshed with the Minnesota Secretary of State. You do have a lease with the other church stand. That's E. You find highlighting, stop by the highlighting. There you go. So it's a 20-year lease. It terminates in 2028, and it's $450 annual rent. So you got a lease with them. They got the right to be there. They've got to sign. You scroll down. I don't think the county signed this one, but I don't know that. I'm not suggesting that would be out for you. Just that maybe there's one that's signed, but based on the lease, they put the building up, and I think they have the right to the building, even if there's not something signed there. So those are I guess the four properties. The Prairie Building, yeah, you got a lease with them that's year to year. The beer gardens, I'm sorry, I just don't see a strong argument that favors the Ag Society with respect to that. The Peace United, I think that's one of the weakest ones because it's there at the time that the original deed was given and was included. And, the last is the improvements to that sheep and goat building with an animal building. And if you're going to make improvements on somebody else's land, you should probably have an agreement with them as to what the use and control is. And, I can go back to those other buildings. Are they, if it's real estate, you need a deed. If it's a fish house, like you probably don't need a deed, you need a bill of sale or something, but I don't think that they have that. So. Ready for your questions.
Okay, questions, commissioners?
I do, Madam Chair, and Tom, I don't know if you answered this, maybe you did, but the actual, we've been arguing about buildings, but the actual grounds that the building's set on, is that owned by the county?
The deed from 1978, yes.
Okay. So then from that point on, buildings that are built need our permission?
I can't imagine that the property owner would allow improvements without permission.
And have we been following that properly? And I don't care if you tell us yes or no, but we need to know that, because this is where we're in a predicament, is people have been doing things, the county board hasn't been saying yes or no, and maybe they have been in some instances, but, you know, we need to get control here and say, okay, what's going on here and who has what, and if the county leases or the Ag Society leases, we need to get that under control, so.
We go to F.
Sure. May take me a minute, but.
Okay, we looked at this earlier. This is a lease with you and the Todd County Ag Society. Roll down to the highlighted portion. There you go. You know, so you have a lease with them. There's also a resolution, and I don't know that I didn't include that resolution, but it was included. I can find it here pretty quickly. Three and four. There's a resolution, you know, that permits the removal of the old church stand and the construction of a new church stand in a location by the American Lutheran Church. So you're controlling that. It's governed by your actions, and it's in your record. There is a resolution, you know, to take over the fairgrounds and assume some debt for $135,000. That's one of your resolutions. There's a resolution that the Todd County Board of Commissioners support the Todd County Fair Board in acquiring a building from Prairie Motors and to reconstruct the building on the fairgrounds at an estimated cost of $30,000. So, I mean, there's something in there, plus you got the lease. Yeah, you should have agreements with that. Earlier, we looked at the building permit application that the county/Long Prairie J.C.'s put in for that beer gardens, whatever. Yeah, and I think that, I don't know, I didn't see a resolution with respect to that. Maybe there is one. It wasn't been provided to me. But I believe, Commissioner Kircher, your point is that, you know, shouldn't we have some sort of agreement before anyone makes an improvement? Absolutely, you should. Have you been following that? Yeah, I think there's some evidence that you're following that. I don't know. It'd be nice to have a little better resolution with respect to the beer gardens, but clearly the application acknowledges you. Is that helpful?
Yeah, I think so. I just am concerned about, still one group says, well, we own this building, and that's fine. Do we have record of that? And, you know, and do we have, if they do, then we need to come up with a resolution saying they own that, they're leasing from us to have it on that property. That's the way I think it should be done. Am I wrong or right?
I think that's a way that could be approached. I have to start from the premise that you own it all at this point.
Yeah.
And then from there, if you choose to, you know, you got fee title and you can give a leasehold interest in someone, yeah, you can choose to do that. That's property law would allow you to do that, and you would, you know, make that decision based upon the public interest and such. But
And Madam Chair, I'm hoping that Mr. Solno will stay on and help us through some of this stuff, if you would.
yeah, we discussed at the work session a couple of things, including the lease, and I discussed with Chris Pelzer that you may want to go and check with some other counties and see what they use for leases rather than, you know, hiring me to reinvent a wheel. And she was going to do that, but yeah, we could look at leases for that. You have a lease, and it's one of my exhibits with the for the Todd County Expo building with the Hockey Association. They're not there this year, but I mean that's a good example of what is doable out there. And I get, you know, the Todd County Ag Society, and again, I have respect for the work they do and the people who are on it. But, you know, if you're going to they can't pass a resolution saying that you were going to do this with our building, because I don't think they own it. You own it. You own fee title. You certainly own any of the improvements that are on there, in my opinion, at the time that the deed was given. Question improvements made after that. Well, the Prairie Building, I mean, there's a resolution saying, yeah, you can bring it on, and there's a lease with that. I think that says you're the owner. This improvements to that sheep building, you know, they got some money, they put it on there. You know, there would have been wisdom in having a better understanding prior to incurring that. But they made the, if I come and put a shed up on your property, you know, feel free to use it. They do, of course, retain the absolute right to possession of it during that 3-week period of time.
Okay, how about, Madam Chair, how about the improvement, the damage that was done to, what's that building?
Concession.
Okay, now, we've been in an argument about the damage has not been improved, and they say they have the money, I think we say we have some money.
We have the insurance money.
So, and we put a stall on that, and the argument is, well, we own it, why can't we do what we want with it? And blah, blah, blah. So Tom, do you have a way to decipher that and say, okay, who can move forward and fix that, or it's on our property, so.
I'll give you my opinion.
Yep,
And my opinion is that your claim of ownership to that Peace United food stand is superior to the claim of ownership by the Todd County Agricultural Society for a number of reasons. First, it was present when the 1978 warranty deed was given to you, and the deed includes the fixtures and improvements, and this was among those. Second, any conveyance that was made by Peace United to them in 2009, June of 2009, was at a time when the Todd County Agricultural Society was and continues to be not properly registered with the Secretary of State. And three, I don't know how you might convey an ownership interest in a building improvement like this, but I don't think you do it with the way that they had done it here. You know, if it's, like say, if it's a fish house, you do a bill of sale. You know, if it's real estate, you do a deed. This is somewhere in between. But even so, the agreement needed, in my opinion, to have involved the county at that point in time. What was conveyed by the payment of $500 to Peace United, I'm not sure, except that, you know, Peace United gave up any claim they had, but they didn't necessarily convey anything. So my opinion is you have the superior claim to those funds that are associated with that.
Then, Madam Chair, next question is, and I agree with you, Tom, these people are volunteer, they do great work and everything else, but should we do business with them until they become good standing with the Secretary of State?
Well, that's kind of a no-brainer. They need to do that.
I know.
And it happens, you know, it's a matter.
It gets forgotten, but it's.
Yeah, it's $55.
Yeah.
And an online filing, you know.
You can do that online, so just, I'd suggest that they do that so that then we can go forward in good standing, so.
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Questions?
I renew mine every year, and it takes about maybe 10 minutes at the most online.
If you do it timely, there's no fee. It's just when you let it lapse that you
Yeah,
have to do it.
yeah.
It's 35 by paper, 55 online,
Right.
if you're delinquent.
Commissioners, any other questions? If not, we met with Tom at a facility meeting. The process forward was meeting today at this work session. We also have it scheduled to meet the 26th of March at a facility with the Ag Society being present at that meeting. Then we're hoping to bring this back to the board on April 6th, unless there isn't enough time for the proper work to be done, then it would be delayed until the second meeting of April. Am I correct on that, Chris?
Madam Chair, yes, you are. Those are the steps.
Okay.
I have one question. Why has it got to come back in front of the board? What are we going to do?
Well, for us to be able to take any action, it has to be at a board meeting.
What action would we take?
I believe that.
Madam Chair, if you'd like me to, the discussion would be how to proceed with the repairs to the church building, on whether or not we're going to proceed with repairs, whether we do the repairs as option one, and I believe Mitch has those figures there, if we do the partial repair or if we do the entire repair to the outside of the.
And I'm sorry, the facilities committee can't make that decision?
No, I don't think we should. The other question, excuse me, Chris, is also the insurance on the buildings. There's always been question who, insures the fairground buildings. Should the county be insuring all of the buildings and so forth? So I think it should come before the Board of Commissioners again.
I agree, Madam Chair, because we've been giving them $20,000 of taxpayers' money for the last, 10, 15 years, and if they're not registered with the Secretary of State, that's kind of scary. So we're gonna have to clarify some stuff.
Well, I don't wanna go for their throat, I just wanna work with them and get things taken care of here, but
Well, I don't think any of us want to go for their throat. I think we
Right.
want to make sure it's documented in a
Eyes
board
dotted.
meeting.
T's crossed.
Madam Chair, if I could also just speak to the facilities committee and the way that that committee is run. I mean, just for clarity, there are minutes taken at every facilities committee meeting. So those minutes are taken and are shared with the committee and with the commissioners. So those minutes are available.
Thank you, Chris. Any other questions?
Madam Chair, could we possibly have Mitch share the estimate cost of the repairs?
Oh, yes.
Sure, I can definitely do that. Hopefully I can speak well enough here to, so I did get a revised, estimate repairs. We did give them a couple, because we wanted options, that we were looking into as far as what we could do, and just basically to repair the work, not redo the outside or anything like that, was $3,676.42. And then if you scroll down, we had another option to basically re-tin the outside and continue on with what we've been doing with some of the fairgrounds buildings to begin with, and making them more presentable to the public. And that cost was $8,975.91. Now, in regards, that was the reasoning. The facilities committee, we were opting, what we're gonna do and then present that to the board, and that's what we'll bring on April 6th, so.
Okay.
And then with the insurance money that we received was.
$2,800?
Yeah, $2,800 roughly, so. And that was a building that we obviously insured.
Right.
Right. Any other questions or comments? If not, thank you, Tom.
Yep, President.
Thank you.
see that.
Can't deny it.
Mitch?
And you guys should each have a copy of Tom's paperwork.
Yeah.
Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning again.
Chris, are you leading this or Sarah?
Sarah can go ahead with this. Thank you.
Okay, so Policies Committee has looked at the sick leave policy and recommends two changes, eliminating letter G and H. H is the sick leave bonus, which was eliminated from all contracts this year, and G is just a repetitive thing that is listed somewhere else in personnel policies as well.
Questions, comments? If not, we'll plan on bringing that to board on the April, I didn't write down the date, sorry. 6th, is it? Okay, no problem with bringing it to the board on the 6th. Okay, the next.
Policies Committee looked at the exit interviews policy, and the following changes are recommended. Would you like me to read through that?
Questions, concerns?
Well, in the past, we haven't, or Sarah and Chris, correct me, we haven't had county commissioners attend exit interviews, have we?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Kurtzer, our policy states that we have department heads or supervisors or managers involved in that process, or the human resources manager, and the policy does not include having commissioners attend those exit interviews.
Madam Chair, I have attended years ago when an employee asked that I would attend their meeting with HR. So I have attended when they asked me, and I think they're constituents of ours, and if they request one of us commissioners to be there, I think it's okay.
And this isn't stating that only if they ask, correct?
It isn't or is?
Shared with,
Well, it shares, says it shares with us all, not one or two, but that's the final exit interview, the written exit interview. But during the actual interview with the department head or an HR or whatever, it does say that up to two county commissioners can attend, but it also, did we add county coordinator and manager? Has that been added in there too?
We took out HR department and added and/or county coordinator. We added manager instead of HR department, and then and/or county coordinator and/or two county commissioners.
Okay. HR is not involved anymore?
HR department is, HR
Involved.
manager is involved.
HR manager, oh, okay. All right, well, that goes together, I see.
yeah.
I was looking at it as a manager of the department or something, okay.
Yeah,
Should read these sentences as a whole then.
Yeah, the department head is included in the original, and the HR department was included in the original document. We just changed that to HR manager.
Okay, and the other, employee can choose to exclude to share with any of the above, but cannot share with some commissioners and not others. That was added also.
How do you control that?
That if it's shared with one, it has to be shared with all, and that employee would know that, right?
Yeah, on the form, there's a checkbox of who they want to share it with, and it's all commissioners, so I forward the form, the completed PDF of the form to all of you, not just some of you. Like, they can choose to not share it with their manager, but they can't choose to share it with Commissioner Becker and not Commissioner Kircher.
Well, currently, we are receiving those as commissioners after the interview is conducted, am I correct?
If
Not
the employee
necessarily.
checks the box that says commissioners.
Oh,
Yep,
So it's up to the employees if it's shared with us or not.
yes.
but then if two commissioners attend or one, the exit interview, we don't, and the employee says, I don't want the other commissioners to know about that, then one commissioner does know about it and the rest of us don't.
I would think that would be mandatory checkbox if they share,
Well-
if two commissioners would be in the interview, then it would have to be shared with all commissioners in writing. Because the box would have to be checked then.
Doesn't say that, but the employee doesn't have to check that box and may choose not to
Well,
check that box.
we should
so-
have that
We can
added
add-
to that.
We can add that to the form, or we can add that to this. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. I just presumed if one commissioner was involved, it would have to be shared with all. But if that's not clear, we should add something to clear that up. Any other comments or questions?
Madam Chair, Sarah, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
I was just gonna suggest that, once we refine this to a form that the commissioners would like, again, I would suggest that we run this through the labor attorney to make sure that the processes that we're doing actually are things that make sense.
Any other questions? Rod, did you have?
I just had a question on the line B there. Is this an optional thing then? It's not something you have to do?
No, it's totally optional.
Okay. So the
And
exit
or,
interview in
yeah.
itself is an option. And then I just wanted to make sure that the wording also is optional for whom they choose. Is that worded properly? And I am not an English expert. That doesn't fall under plumbing.
Yes, that's true.
I don't want people attending that they don't want attending, is what I'm trying to
Right.
say.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just want to make sure it's worded properly where they're the ones picking.
Yep. I can update that as well.
And it's maybe meant to be that way, I'm just not able to pick that out of that sentence, so.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? If not, we will be seeing that on the April 6th.
I
Commissioner.
do
Oh,
have
okay.
something I'm just thinking about, Madam Chair, and Chris and Sarah, maybe you can answer this. You've been sending them by email to us, and their exit interviews, are they public information?
I would need to speak.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Kircher, I believe the exit interviews are confidential. I am getting confirmation of that from our labor attorney.
Well, because you're emailing them to us, that becomes public information, so I'm just wondering if we're following the law here on when it comes to employees. So, I mean, you could certainly give them to us in paper, but I want to make sure that we're not violating any personnel violations, so.
I will follow up, Commissioner Kircher. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Then hopefully we'll see this on the April 6th.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I think we're down to Adam.
Morning again.
Good morning. It's still morning, right?
Yeah. You guys want paper copies of the same thing that's up there?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Trump 8-year high.
Okay, I'll just run through this really quick. This is a similar report to what was done in past years, just kind of recapping our activities from the previous year. Just a few things I wanted to note. As you can see in that first chart, it was a very busy year in comparison to past years. It was the busiest it's been in whatever 8 years. Land use permits were up to 414. Septic permits we issued were 148. Those things kind of go together at times. For a total of 710 total in permit activity, which is very high in comparison, as you can see, to past years. Some other things I just wanted to notice, the enforcement policy, we had 40 properties that we worked on to resolve old violations. We resolved 24 of those. There's only 7 new properties that were assessed the penalty in 2020, and then we had 2 that came back from 2019. So we're continuing to make good progress on those. The rest of those properties we're continuing to work with. They've made some progress but have additional steps to take, so we continue to work with them as long as they're making progress.
Adam, can I
Yes.
just stop you for a second? If you wanted to, or if we as a board wanted to add different properties to that list, at what time should we be doing that?
They might even be on our list already. So I think
Okay.
if you have certain properties you want us to take a look at, just let us know, and we'll start to dig into them. And then the process is kind of a 3-letter process.
Right.
We like to get those out earlier in the year so we have the opportunity to work with them throughout the year. And then I believe when is it? Usually the end of August, we have work session to discuss which ones we will be bringing to you. And then those assessments need to be placed by like October 15th or something. And then we bring them back at the very end of the year again too. So the earlier the better, but typically we can still send the initial letter around this time frame if we wanted to get rolling on new ones for this year.
And
That was the next part of that column there was our plan for 2021. I think I mentioned it when we talked about these at the end of last year. But to not go after, we're kind of getting to a point where a lot of the violations on our list are smaller type violations, and we have a lot of them, I shouldn't say a lot, we have several sitting out there from 2019 and 2020 that we want to continue to work with. So we're going to put focus into those properties to try to get those older violations resolved rather than taking on a bunch of new ones. But obviously we get complaints throughout the year. We'll handle those as we always have. Some other quick things to note. Staff, Brian McCann, our planning and zoning specialist, left in March. Jacob Nosbush was then hired in June to take that position. Lauren Miller retired at the very end of last year, and we're going through the hiring process to fill Lauren's position right now. You can see some of our accomplishments throughout the year, but the major one I wanted to notice was managing to get through a COVID year, which was difficult to navigate at times, and then on top of that, it was one of our busiest years in 8 years. So really a hats off to the staff in the planning and zoning office on being flexible and willing to work with people. We had to do things through email, mail, online permitting, but we managed to make it through and had a successful year in the end. Looking at the financial summary, you'd expect that our numbers would be up in 2020 because we had such a high permitting load, and you can see that was the case. We did have a high amount of reimbursements that were given. Part of that is because we had a lot of people just mailing in applications and fees without talking with us first. And so we had to navigate through that, sometimes ask for extra fees, return money. We had a lot of that going on. And there was one really large application that came in. They paid the full fee and then withdrew most of the application in the process. So that was several $1,000s in that one case. And then the bottom part there, 71% of our planning and zoning staff, both salaries and benefits, were covered through grants and the permitting activity throughout the year. The one thing I wanted to note is that's a really good number. 2019 was at 40, 2018 was at 50, so I anticipate that number won't be quite that high on a year-to-year basis, but obviously we'll try to get it as high as possible. Depending on the grants we have coming in and where staff can charge their time will dictate a little bit of that percentage. Those are kind of my highlights. I'd be happy to answer any questions now, or if you think of them later, you can certainly get a hold of me.
Commissioners? Any questions?
Just want to thank Adam and the staff for all the hard work they did this year.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I appreciate you coming up with this report too. It's
Yeah.
just kind of nice to be able to touch base with everybody
Sure.
at the
Yep.
same time.
Cool. Well, I will be back next year with another one.
Very good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we'll close the work session. It's at